And we went back and forth a bit. And I was trying to say, well, the town, the sidewalks as they are up against the curb for the most part. And so we'd like to keep them that way. And her argument was that she or the state would like to have some buffer strip between the curb and the sidewalk to provide an area for future signs. So if they have to come in a year from now, 2 years from now, whatever it may be, and put in a new sign, they could just sleeve it right into a lawn area and put the sign up and be on their way and not have to deal with pavements. I went back and forth. I explained different reasons, where there's parking, we don't want people stepping out onto what's supposed to be lawn turns into mud in the spring and fall. And other areas where we have tight right of way and there's really no space and we'd have to go onto private property. And she was pretty much adamant that we need to provide this buffer strip. So I said I would go back to the town, to the committee, speak with them and see what, we could do. But for at least the core center, I just didn't see it happening because it just didn't make much sense to me. And I had never been really pushed this amount to really provide this buffer strip. And I offered a wider sidewalk, where we could provide another foot. If clearances, if a new sign gets put in, we need to provide ADA clearances. But even with a 5-foot walk, we should be able to do that. That didn't really leave her concern. And she really just seemed to be stuck on the fact that if they had to come in and cut into or deal with paving, and she said bricks or concrete or whatever it may be, she just didn't want to have that happen. And so I talked to people here in the office to see if it's come up recently, because we're doing other walks with Gina. Unfortunately, both those places, the sidewalk's 5 feet off the curb, so they have no issue with this. And so it really didn't come up. And basically my transportation engineers who kind of deal with DOT on a regular basis were saying, you should be prepared to have something in your back pocket as a compromise, at least to say, okay, we can't do, let's say, the village center from the monument to the railroad tracks. And then as I was looking at the plans, we could push it in some areas from the railroad tracks down towards the Congregational Church on the Kent Green side. So that's, it's about 1,100 linear feet. And if we're going to look to change that area, there's our, repercussions to that. In the space would vary from, a 2-foot shelf down to a 1 foot, maybe a little under 1 foot shelf of space that I can get without going on private property with the sidewalk. So I told her, the towns had no issue with maintaining the snow or the sidewalks, removing snow that gets pushed on there. She didn't really seem to think that helped anything. So I said, this is going to be more of a maintenance issue now. I got a 1 foot piece of lawn that's never going to grow. It's going to look like hell.
And turn into mud, just as you mentioned before.
Yeah. So the only
for $100 you can rent a Hilti drill at United Mill and drill a hole in any kind of pavement.
Yeah. I don't know. So I basically ended the conversation with her saying, I'll have to talk to the town and see, what we can do or what they want to do. So that's kind of where that went. And like I said, I've looked at the plans. I think we can make some areas work. I'd hate to, have it up against the curb, then all of a sudden it's not up against the curb, then back up against the curb. That's just going to look kind of strange. So, if it's something you want to look at or pursue and have that in our back pocket, I think it would be on that section from, going towards the Congregational Church on the Kent Green side, basically at Webster Bank, just over the tracks headed.
Would you be able to do this without moving the curbing more into Route 7?
I can, but it would so in certain, starting near the tracks, I can get a decent shelf, a 2-foot shelf. But as I continue down towards the Congregational Church, it gets narrower and narrower. So there's spots where, there's like fire hydrants and the private property right away gets narrower, that I'm getting up against, less than a foot. So if we stole a little bit of the shoulder, let's just say a foot, and we did push that curb out slightly, it would at least give, a little bit more meat to that lawn strip. So maybe it would grow and actually not look like this little dinky thing.
And of course, the town's responsible for maintaining that, the lawn, if you
Yeah.
will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Round up,
what's that?
round up.
Yeah. So,
Mike, I don't have a plan with me, but aren't there signs up through there already? They're on the back side of the sidewalk?
I don't, there's not many, at least
There
street
might be one
signs.
right there in front of the last entrance to the green. I think there's one there.
Okay,
Maybe one up towards the crosswalk.
yeah. Yeah, I know there's one, near that crosswalk. It's at the backside.
And
I mean, she was just saying future signs. I was like, well, we don't know if there's gonna be any. I mean, we're gonna have to provide this, and then there may not be a sign at all.
Yeah.
but it truly is easy enough to drill a hole through any material to put any sign up. It's not like,
Yeah.
to me, it's not like it's a big deal. And if the 5-foot but is there any way we can, there's no way to convince her. It sounds like you've already gone that route, but
She definitely wasn't budging on any or biting on any of my offerings. And
I mean, we definitely would rather not lose any parking because we lack parking as it is.
right, yeah, I don't think we would even. I wouldn't offer any of that from the railroad tracks up to the monument as a potential, because it just makes no sense to step onto lawn.
Right.
That's just never gonna grow. It's just gonna be dirt.
North of the Kent Green, there's not really legal parking anyway, is there? Is that legal?
Of the green. I thought it was legal up to the
The church, I thought it was
to the
legal.
tracks there. Oh, all the way. I didn't.
It means
Well-
all the way to the church.
From the Kent, the north end of the Kent Green up to the church, I'm not sure that's really parking area anyway. I'm thinking if we had to lose a foot there.
Yeah, I don't think you, because
In the
that
traffic area.
shoulder's only about, I think, less than a car width, I would think.
Yeah.
And it's like six.
But
six
they
and
do park
change.
there when there's an event at the
Yeah.
community house.
Oh, sure, yeah.
And I just, I think we got to dig our heels in the main part of the village center and say it's existing. It's ridiculous to narrow things down, to lose the little parking we have.
Yeah.
Or to narrow the sidewalk. And I would think there's got to be someone we could, get on our side, or, find the right person to reach on that.
Yeah. Yeah, we definitely can't narrow the walk. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
I guess you could do a 4-foot walk, but two people side by side can't
Right.
walk on a 4-foot walk. So,
No. As you said,
Yeah.
it's existing and the town handles what the state shoves over, and
yep.
we're making the best of a bad situation.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's a letter from the town, from Rick, or from the whole First Selectman Board, or the Streetscape Committee, to
Well,
the
I think
effect of, no compromise, or, or dig your heels in and see what they say, and then have at least in the back pocket that maybe this
well,
ends.
I think Gina's known about this project all along, and with our walkthrough, with her, she did mention snow shelves where they
Yep.
were. She didn't want to eliminate any, but
Right,
she didn't mention adding any.
Yeah.
And,
right. That
and-
was my understanding too. Yeah, where you could provide them, or where you've had them, keep
Yeah, she
them.
didn't-
But
I definitely recall her saying, I don't want to lose any that I have.
right.
but she didn't say you have to add any, which, I mean, I think it's a little late in the game for her to miss that.
Well, that's the
Well,
thing. I mean, I've been trying to get this answer for, at least probably a month now.
Yeah.
And I didn't say that to her because I knew how if I said that, how she would react. So,
Well, I think you're right, Mike, Doherty, probably a letter from all three, Board of Selectmen, from Rick, and from our committee, and CC our local representatives on it. In fact, I would urge the Board of Selectmen or, first selectman to contact our state representative and senator, or whatever process seems reasonable, but, we got it.
I think at first the letter from both Rick and the selectmen would be the starting point. I don't think that bombarding them with a letter from the committee or
yeah,
Rick's the
Okay.
town foreman and the selectmen
Yeah.
are in charge of our committee, really. So
Okay.
I don't think that we need to bombard them with her. But I think if we have to carry it further, maybe there is someone going over her head, maybe would have to be an issue, but hopefully it wouldn't have to go that way. And perhaps reminding her that during the walkthrough, what she insisted on then is different than what she's insisting on now.
Mm.
Yeah.
I think that that's a nice way to start.
I think her recollection may be different.
I don't know. You and I recall the same thing, and
Yeah,
I think that I can go back into my notes in the letter that I submitted to everybody.
Yeah.
Concerning that meeting and that walkthrough, it was mentioned that she didn't want to lose any of it.
yeah,
She didn't, but it wasn't mentioned. I didn't state that she didn't mention adding any, but she just said she didn't want to lose any.
right.
So, I mean, that was taken right from the notes of the day, and I didn't see her writing any notes.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can come to terms that way. The selectmen did meet 2 nights ago. I didn't join because I really didn't have anything to add. So I don't know if they have any other special meetings coming up, but it sounds like, given this and some other information that Barbara's going to share with us in a little bit, we need to discuss some things with them. Or I
Yeah.
do. Or,
Do you know if they discussed the electrical lighting?
we talked about that at the last meeting, the last special meeting I was part of. They weren't totally against canceling it, but they, again, here's another place I'm failing our committee tonight. I did tell them I would try and look into, I can't even find out who to talk to with Eversource concerning the adding some lights that, like the existing ones on the poles.
If there's enough room on the pole, they had one as long as we pay for it.
And the thing was trying to find a cost for it. I know they would add it, but if there's I wanted to try and find the cost for that and the cost of operating them versus the cost of the street lighting that was part of the original plan. And I drove through town, and it seems that on Main Street, every pole has a light on it. So I'm going to drive through town tonight when it's dark. I know on Elizabeth Street, or Lane Street, it seems that it's every other pole. And maybe on the corner, it does the two side by side. Elizabeth Street is about the same, every other pole. So I'm going to just try and drive it and see what the lighting is like along the way. And hopefully, Rick, I don't know if you know anyone with Eversource to talk to about getting costs for that, or.
Yeah, I can call our liaison and see who to talk to directly.
If you would, I'd appreciate it, because I'm at a loss there. Heading south of town, that seems to be pretty weak as far as lighting goes. I know I remember the owner of the Kent greenhouse suggesting that he's been paying for lights on the poles for several years. Well, those lights are pointed at his parking area, not at the street. So I don't know if we could, put additional lights facing the street, but they are on his side, on that west side of Route 7. So, and there are no poles going up Maple Street Extension to Stewart Farm. The power comes from the other end. So I'm not sure about lighting in that area either. We may have to add something there if we do the sidewalks up to there. But there again, do we have the room to put sidewalks? I don't know what the property easements and the Board of Selectmen are aware. I'm not sure if they have contracted anybody, but again, we're going to talk more about that with Barbara as far as that goes.
Okay, for the minutes, Mike, so the Board of Selectmen did not make a decision on conduit and.
No, they did not be
Okay.
pending the investigation
Yeah.
as far as adding lights to street poles, to telephone poles.
Okay, well, just for the record, I move that we ask the Board of Selectmen and the town road crew foreman to submit letters to go to Gina Gerlach regarding, how should we word this, Mike?
Additional snow shelves?
Yeah,
The shifting of the sidewalk to add a snow shelf.
shifting a sidewalk. You have to add a snow shelf.
Which is really a sign shelf from what I'm being told, but
What it sounds like, because she seems more concerned with drilling a hole in concrete or blacktop or whatever it is, granite, which is really a pretty simple process. So
Okay.
let's hear it again, John, please.
I move that we ask the Board of Selectmen and the town road crew foreman to submit letters to Gina Gerlach regarding her request for shifting the sidewalk to provide for future signage. How's that?
Asking her to relieve us of that.
Yes.
Or reconsider her request.
How much is existing versus how much is she asking you to add?
Right now, the only existing is south of the traffic light. There's nothing on the northbound side, I don't believe. Or the west.
yeah, we have.
So it wouldn't
I mean,
be, wherever she wanted it would be the addition. If she only wanted it from the Fife and Drum or from the Green North, that would. Is that the only place that she asked for it, really?
She didn't specify the exact place. She just was asking for where we can provide it to provide it. And she didn't, one of her responses to me in an email was DOT, it doesn't matter if the sidewalk has to go onto private property. That didn't concern DOT.
Well, hopefully I second John's motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
More work for Rick.
I guess I know what I'm doing.
I just think that
Yes.
I think all of you have a copy of those notes from that walkthrough with her. And again, I don't have it in front of me because my stack of streetscape stuff is like that big fish, I'm really quite sure that it was mentioned in there to keep the snow shelf that exists, and that was it. So hopefully we can remind her, and hopefully she'll accept that, and if not, we'll have to figure it out. And I think Mike's got a good idea. If it comes down to it, the only place we could add it is that section. If we have to add it there, then we add it there, and let her know that that's the only place it can happen.
Yep.
Yep.
Hopefully we don't have to. So after this meeting, we'll see when I can visit with the Board of Selectmen again.
Okay,
And-
so Mike Doherty, this will slow us down, right? Finalizing documents?
Well, I mean, potentially, it's not well, it does change all our cross sections if we got to add a snow shelf. I don't know where we stand with the easements, how many have come in to the town, signed or not. So we're still, if we can figure this out as fast as possible, it would be great. But yeah, so it could, if we had all the easements in and this was still out there, it would be slowing us down.
We have 8 more of the easements to go.
Oh, really? That's pretty
That's pretty
better
good.
than I thought. That's pretty good. We can send you were thinking of sending out letters the end of this week?
Actually, Chris Garrity is calling the people.
Oh, good. That's
Yeah.
Even better.
He volunteered.
Fast. That's faster than the mail these days.
Yep.
I still haven't gotten a Christmas card from a guy in Warren, one of the builders in Warren I work for.
Yeah.
That was sent, actually. Okay. Anything else to add, Mike?
I don't think so. That was the biggest item.
Okay, in that case, we're gonna move to phase 2, and Barbara has some news about the TAP grant.
Well, let's see. Rick and I have gone on 2 Zoom meetings already. We have it set up now so that we'll have a weekly Zoom meeting with the firm that I guess is engineering for the state. They're VHB. Do you know them, Mike?
Yeah, they have their contract is a DOT liaison, so they
Right.
help the DOT to give out the funds and review the plans. Yep.
Right. So basically, they're telling us what we can and can't do step by step by step. And they've already issued one manual and then a master agreement that Jean signed previously. I'm not sure when she signed it. But anyway, that's all signed, the master agreement. And the first thing we have to do now is pick an engineer. And because it's federal grant money, we have to use their process. And their process is that we have to issue a legal notice for request for qualifications. And the request for qualifications is only that, with no money, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We have to provide 30 days for them to get that. Once we publish it 30 days before the cutoff is, that we wouldn't accept submissions. And the process requires a minimum of a panel of 3 town employees or elected officials to rank these submissions and then send in our responses to this engineering firm, VHB. Then they share it with the state, whatever, they approve what we do, then they send it back and say, okay, you can pick between these 2 or these 3 or however they do it. And then we get to pick, and then they get the final say on everything, is the bottom line here. That's what it looks like to me so far. So we already sent them the legal notice. I got notification today that it's been approved to publish. So I'm hopeful to get that published tomorrow. Because we already have an existing relationship with your firm, Mike, there's another document that I have to send them tomorrow, which it's not difficult. It's just they give us a template and I have to fill in a couple of spaces and they approve it. And that way I can send a direct, a direct thing to your firm to say, would you please
Gotcha.
respond,
Yep.
blah, 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 whatever that's called.
Yep.
And we go from there. It's a step-by-step process. I'm sure you're probably somewhat familiar with it.
Yep.
So yet another hiccup.
But I'm not sure we're going to have a committee the way that we have now for that grant, because it seems, at least from what I'm seeing already, that this VHB group is the committee. Would you agree
Yeah.
with that?
Yeah, we've had, some towns rely on them because they do reviews. Other towns have committees in addition. We've seen it both ways.
Okay. Well, at this point, we don't have a signed grant agreement yet, so that comes, I guess, a little bit later. And it's, Mike Gowell, it's in that booklet, I think, that I gave you. But he did furnish us with a timeline, their timeline. He furnished us with their cost estimates, et cetera, et cetera. But I think in the interest of trying to keep the request for qualifications process clean, we won't share that at this point, right? Does that make sense?
Sure.
I think so. So it just, it kind of surprises me, but then again, it doesn't. I mean, we've already, Mike has been, he's so far along with the work.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't mean he won't get it. And I think one of the qualifications is that you've got some historical knowledge and you have some historical work, and I don't see why that can't work in your favor in the ranking process, but
Yeah.
We still have to go through the due diligence because
Yep.
it's federal money, that we don't have a choice.
Right.
And this engineering firm is VHB?
Yep, out of Weathersfield. V is Victor, H Henry, B Barbara, out of Weathersfield.
So this new committee of only town employees, that they would be the ones working on that project, not?
Well, at
our
this
committee?
point, that committee is only for the ranking process. And then once we get through that process, I have a bigger manual, but I haven't had time to read that either. That probably lays out some more steps too, but
Okay.
one step at a time, got to
Yep.
get through one thing at a time.
Okay, well,
Okay.
thank you very much for doing everything you have done on this. I'm sure it's added to your workload quite a bit.
Yeah,
Sorry
I
about
need a new
that.
title, grant administrator. The
Well,
fancy raise to go with it,
I would hope a big raise would go with it. I would vote yes. Unfortunately, my vote doesn't mean much there, but
Oh, wow.
I do know someone I can talk to.
Well, anyway, that's the scoop on that, and we'll keep you guys updated. But again, because Mike Doherty has a little bit of a conflict with this, we have to kind of keep this discussion of that grant very superficial at this point
Right.
with this group.
Okay, well, again, thank you for giving us as much of an update as you're able to.
And if it makes any difference, I could certainly jump off the meeting at any time if you want.
Yeah, I don't think we're there yet. I mean, we haven't even published the legal notice yet, so.
I think for today, we're okay.
Yeah.
I tried getting them to say that it was okay because we already did this with you 10 years ago. They didn't want to listen to that part.
Well, maybe they're a little concerned it took 10 years to get to here.
Hey, I'm not taking all that responsibility.
No,
No.
I'm not blaming anybody. I'm just saying that it seems like it's taking a long time to a lot of.
This VHB group seems to be a really nice, the two people that run our meetings seem to be very, very helpful, very, very nice. So I think it'll be a very smooth process.
Yeah, they've been doing that contract for a long time, so they're a good company, just not as good as ours.
Well, then we'll all have to agree. Okay, so the biggest issue now, Chris has been calling now 8 people for the easement letters. One issue did come up. What used to be the country close. That appears the apron going in there is not on their property. Or part of it is. Part of it is on the Episcopal Church property. And I guess that the Episcopal Church is not going to renew their lease of that portion of property. And so in the plans, is this part of our, I mean, given the fact that we're doing the sidewalks, that has to become part of this scope, does it not?
I don't think it's a negative thing, you know, I think we can address it. It's basically just shifting their curb cut. We're not creating a new curb cut, so.
Right, it's just shifting it. But would that make us responsible for bringing his apron in onto his property?
So I took a look at this area and basically we had some temporary rights to go on both of their properties at the time to reconstruct the driveway. So we'd shift the apron over and then you'd be paving about, I think it's maybe 10 total feet from back of the concrete.
To the existing.
No, 7 feet. And about 3.5 of that is on his property, so.
Right. So it's really not a big addition to the project at all?
No, it would just basically leave between the two of them. The church could come in and remove the bituminous asphalt on their property, and he could remove whatever small piece is left that he can't really use on his property. Anything that we've disturbed will be ceded to lawn or paved for his driveway.
Okay, isn't there a pretty good sized tree right there, or am I?
Well, luckily that tree is gone. I found out the other
Yeah,
day.
he already took that
Oh,
down.
that's right.
Yeah,
Okay,
it was slated to come down, but it's now already gone. So that's one thing.
Okay,
We
obviously I didn't notice, but.
So is there any action necessary between those property owners for us to proceed?
Just the easements, right?
So he would still need to sign an easement, and the church already had other impacts that they'd be signing for.
Right, but
So between the two of them, I mean, I don't think it affects us.
we
So
put
their
the curb
easements-
cut and the apron on their property,
On his, yep, on,
and they do what they
11.
do with it from there.
yep.
Okay.
Do their easements need to be modified in any way? The easement letters?
I have to check his. I think we still had temporary rights for regrading and reconstruction of the driveway, so I don't think it would change.
What's the address on that property, Mike? Do you have that?
11 North Main.
Okay.
So is this something we need to bring to the Board of Selectmen, or do you think it's just something we just move on with? Know that it has to be done.
I guess it can't hurt to bring it to their attention that the request was made. The interesting thing is the address for the church is also, it's 1 and 11 North Main Street. I don't know how that works.
Well, if you take the access out, they won't have it anymore.
Maybe because they share the driveway.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, so I will,
But the driveway is on 11 North Main, or will be on
It
11.
will be, yeah, after
And
the
it's
work.
servicing 11 North Main, yeah, okay. Yep. That's the way
Okay,
we
so
did
we-
it in the old days.
so we'll just bring to the attention of the Board of Selectmen that this has been an issue and that
Yeah.
it's
We're
not,
just gonna shift the
As
curb
far as-
cut.
as far as planning goes and anything in cost, it's really not going to affect the project one way or the other. Okay. Then I will
No,
do
we
that.
actually already, the catch basin that's right there, we already, because it was so close to the curb cut anyways, it was slated to just be a flat top with no inlet back,
Right.
so.
So it's just a drive over.
Yep.
Culverts. Okay. Do I need to go to a selectmen's meeting to bring this attention and ask them to do something, or can I just send them a letter regarding what we've talked about?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that'd
think- I mean,
And that's probably, and then I think the property owner was gonna note it on his easement before he sent it back.
Okay.
So if they look at the easement, it'll be,
Well,
Talk
it wouldn't
about
hurt to bring it to their attention at least, so they know what's coming, right?
Right.
Are there any special meetings, Joyce or Barbara, that you know of that are coming up?
There's one tomorrow, but that's too late. So they don't have anything else scheduled, but I will keep it, keep you posted
Okay.
and I'll add you whenever they do have one.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. In the meantime, I will get a letter to them at least so that it's on their scope and they know what's coming, and you know, to be official, I have to be at a meeting to talk about it with them, I'm sure. So. Okay, I guess we should meet next week again. And
Yeah.
we can talk, and hopefully we can get a little more information out of Gina. Hopefully, I don't know if the Board of Selectmen can write a letter without having a meeting and to talk about it first, or so. We'll just have an update. We'll have an updated meeting next week just to give everybody a quick update. And if it doesn't look like there's anything at all new, Mike Doherty, I'll talk to you Wednesday, maybe.
okay,
And Rick, if there's anything you need to add or not add, you know, if it looks
All right.
like we don't have anything to add, we just won't have a meeting. How's that?
Okay.
Okay,
we'll work on the letter and get it out.
okay. Barbara, again, thank you. Joyce, thank you. And everyone have a great week.
All right.
you too.
Hey, Mike, Doherty,
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh,
that front end document you sent over,
Yep,
all we're doing was reviewing that now, was it, or did we have to do?
yeah,
Billings?
yeah, yeah, if you guys can review it and just let me know sections that need to come out, any edits that need to be done. I had highlighted a few things where I made, you know, some decision in term of like, I think I told you, I put your email in for the shop or the RFIs.
Right.
You know, where plans would get picked up from or if digitally downloaded from,
Okay,
housekeeping type stuff, you know.
okay, so we can look that over and go over it next week.
Okay,
Meeting adjourned. Thank
All
you,
right.
everyone.
thank you.
thanks.